Hello, and welcome to the analysis for the second round of the SET, Symbiosis Entrance Test. We've just completed speaking to our students, and we are now ready for a very detailed and in-depth analysis of the entire second round. So, quickly, this is what we are going to discuss. We'll just quickly take you through the paper pattern, and then we are going to deep dive into each section individually, see which kind of questions were asked, and hence what can be a good score for that particular section. Okay, so paper pattern, there were no surprises. It was the pattern that they had communicated: 16 questions in quant, 12 questions in logic, again 16 questions in verbal, 16 questions in GK. So total of 60 questions, 60 minutes, no negative marking, and again the same thing, +1 for correct answer. Absolutely no use of calculator. Great. We now deep dive into each of these sections. I'm not spending time on the paper pattern. You already know that. You guys have finished the paper. This is what is of the crux for today. So quantitative ability, we found that the paper was, or rather the section was between easy to moderate, slightly towards moderate, but not very difficult. People who have prepared for maybe a slightly difficult exam like an NPAT or an IPMAT Rohtak or Indore or anything of that sort, this exam is going to be a cakewalk for you, like every time. So there were no surprises in terms of the difficulty level of any of the sections. All the sections were exactly as they were anticipated. Okay, so no different type of question appearing out of nowhere in any particular section. Okay, getting into cons, we when we spoke to the students, we understood there were one question from SICI, 2 to 3 questions from profit and loss, 2 questions from the DI. There were tables, no particular bar graph or pie chart was given. It was a simple table and 2 questions from DI. Again, that was doable, not very calculative also. One question on forming basic equations on X and Y. One question on ratios was asked. One question each on time, speed, distance, and time and work. Time, speed, distance, particularly the question was on average speed. Time and work, so many people do so many units of work in so many days, kind of, so man days output type of question was asked in time and work. And one basic question of averages was also asked. Okay. One simple question. If you see the round one, they had a one very basic question of LCM. This time they had a basic question for HCF. Mensuration, there was one question related to circles and spheres. The total value was given and you were asked to calculate the radius. That was also pretty basic and manageable. PNC, there was one question about 6 people able to do different kinds of work, and therefore how many ways it's possible, something on those lines. Probability also, there was one question. One very basic question on series, nothing particularly pertaining to APGP, but one very basic question on sequence and series. So that completes the tally of the 16 questions. Overall, what we think is that out of the 16 questions, if you are decently good in quants, remember, decently good, not very good, decently good in quants, I think you should be able to easily attempt 12, 13 questions. If you are slightly better at quant, you should be able to go even as high as 15 questions. So 13 to 15 is what we think should be your genuine attempts in this particular section. No question was reported very lengthy, very calculative, or difficult to understand, etc. Any of those sorts. Everything was just a smooth flow. We think a good score can be anywhere above 12. 12 is where we are drawing our line. Remember, it's a good score, it's not a cutoff. Okay. As you know, there is also one PI round after this particular exam. So what we indicate good score, it means that you are in the safe zone. You don't need to have an out of the box, extraordinarily good PI when you are in the good score range. You can sail through with a decent PI also. So that's our logic of giving a good score. Okay, so that's about quantitative ability. Let's get into the next section. We now get into logical reasoning. Logical reasoning, when we spoke to the students, they reported this as the easiest of all the sections. So again, 12 questions of logic, sadly has only 12 out of 16, but not 16. But all of these were very simple. Logical series had one question on coding, decoding appeared. Blood relations, also very basic family relation questions, only one question. Nothing on clocks was reported, but one question on calendars had come. Linear arrangement, 5 people facing a particular direction, that kind of question had come again, but it was very, very easy. Basic puzzles, one question. 2 questions on silogs were asked, and 3 to 4 questions on critical reasoning, again, which has been the pattern, not surprising. But all of these questions again were very, very simple, very quickly doable. So when we spoke to the students said they could save a lot of time in logic. They could quickly complete the entire section. So out of the 12 questions, I don't think any of the question really took our students by surprise. Okay. So again, from the 12 questions, what we are seeing, uh, uh, good attempts will be all the entire section. So 10 to 12, you should genuinely attempt everything. Okay, and good score will be 10 plus. So nothing below 10 cuts with for a PI call at SIMBI. So 10 is the bare minimum that you should be targeting. Ideally, you should be able to attempt the entire section without absolutely any hiccups. So that way, this section was the most pleasant section, if I may say. Okay, moving on to the next section, verbal ability. As always, the RC, not really a passage but a poem. This time also there was a poem and had 2 questions from that. Again, very, very simple, very straightforward question. Okay. One question on synonym, antonym, 2 questions on choosing the correct article, A and the, which are the articles can be placed in the blanks that they had given. So 2 questions of that type. 2 to 3 questions from the tenses, but again very basic, not really very, very difficult variation of the tenses. So basic questions on tenses. One question came from figures of speech, and choosing grammatically correct sentence. There were one or 2 questions. 3 to 4 questions were of basic grammar. So, surprisingly, there was no direct synonym antonym question, but grammar was tested, extensively. There was only one question that synonym antonym had, but grammar. So, grammar was way more important vis-a-vis vocab for this particular attempt. So yes, so out of the 16 questions, again, not very, very difficult section as a whole. Out of 16 questions, we think genuinely you should be able to easily attempt at least 15 questions, given the time constraint, not given the difficulty level. By difficulty level, if you have enough time, you should be able to attempt everything and get everything correct. But given the time constraint, 13 to 15 questions and 13 plus should be your target in this particular section for SET. Okay, moving on to GK. GK was slightly surprising. When I say slightly surprising, I did not really find any particular student telling me there were a lot of questions on current affairs. Okay, most of the questions that had come were from the static GK. Like, 1 or 2 questions, if I remember from top of my mind, where do we have active, if we have an active volcano in India. There was one particular book whose author was asked something on survival of fittest or something like that. So there was one question on human biology about something related to proteins. So most of the questions were of that type, all static GK questions. I've just put 1 or 2 questions from current affairs as a token, just to be cautious. But when we spoke to the students, we did not really receive a lot of reviews about lot of questions coming from current affairs. So most of the section was covered by static GK. One very interesting thing that almost all of my students told me was that this particular section of GK was very manageable in terms of eliminating the options. Even if you didn't really know the answer, but if you have a calculated guess, you could easily attempt eliminate 2 or 3 options out of the given option. So that way GK was a very, very doable section this time. Generally, GK is always the game changer. GK is always the section which creates the maximum impact, because other sections are equally easy for everybody. So when you are also doing it and you are also solving and getting it correct, it's not really an edge that you create over everybody else, because everybody else is anyway doing that. GK is where the game changes for a lot of students. This year GK was reportedly easier than what it has been, specifically if you used option elimination, if you use a little bit of common sense. Okay. So genuine attempts out of 16, we would say around 13, 14 questions you should have attempted genuinely. It was decently, on an average also possible to get 10 questions right. It was not very, very difficult this time. So 10 plus is a very, very good score in GK for this particular round of SET. Okay, so overall, if I just quickly take you through the total of all the 4 sections that we have been talking about, we say that there is a 12 is a good score in quants, then logical reasoning 10, so 10 and 12 is 22, another 13, so 35ish, and 10 45ish. So anywhere between 40 to 45 historically also has been in the good score range, but this year or this round also that will be the range of the good score. So anything around anywhere between 40 to 45 should be safe for you to not only get a call but actually get through into the institute. Okay, so yeah, this is what we think might just cutoffs might go. So good score we are saying around 43 44. Okay, cutoffs that we think BBA depending on, this is purely depending on last year's data. The difficulty level has not really changed from last year, so these figures will more or less be in this particular range. This is for the Pune campus general category. BBA should be around 38 to 40, not much. BSc Eco 32 to 34, not really very, very high. For Mass Comm, again 31 to 34. Media Management 30 to 32. BBA IT 29 to again 32 should be the range for the cutoffs. One small thing, if you are exactly at the boundary, it becomes a little difficult for you to actually get a seat. Why? Because of this. Okay, 70% weightage definitely is on the score, but there is a 30%, which is a considerable amount of weightage on PI also. So whenever you are on the right at the boundary of your cutoff, you need to have a very, very good PI to be able to actually crack the call, convert the call, and step your foot into the institute. What we say good scores are scores that will easily, comfortably take you into the institute through the PI stage also. So yeah, that's about it. For now, as you know, 30% weightage is on PI. So from now on, if you don't really have any other exam to be preparing for, we are already done with IPMAT Indore. Rohtak is currently happening as I'm talking on this particular video. So the 2 major exams are out of your way. If you don't have any other exam that you are preparing for, you should start your PI prep with full focus and dedication. Get into reading all the newspapers, be abreast yourself with all the current affairs, with basic geography of where you are staying, which particular campus you are applying, etc., etc. So PI prep has to really, really start with very, very dedicated preparation if you really want to convert the call this year. So yes, all the best, and I really hope you make it to SIMBI. Thank you so much.